This car is stolen, guaranteed. You're like soldier? Someone like you doesn't own this. Fake soldier, fake papers going to prison. That you're nothing but a criminal. Real cops don't let thugs win. In fact, no way you earned this legally.
There's absolutely no way someone like you owns this vehicle legally. Officer Marcus Thompson slams his baton against the Range Rover's windshield, the crack echoing through the wealthy Boston neighborhood. Get your criminal self out right now. James Carter, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, remains perfectly calm despite the verbal attack. Officer, can you tell me why you pulled me over? The reason? Thompson yanks at the door handle with force. A street criminal driving a $160,000 car, that's all the reason I need. This vehicle is definitely stolen. I'm not a criminal. You're a damn thief. Thompson draws his weapon, aiming it directly at James's chest. Coffee shop customers gasp, immediately pulling out their phones to record. Put your hands where I can see them. This car is either stolen or purchased with your dirty money. James raises his hands with military precision, his voice calm and controlled. Sir, I have all the documentation that proves I'm the legal owner. Thompson spits on the hood of the car. Fake paperwork. You criminals always carry fake documents. He screams into his radio. Unit 52 requesting immediate backup. Suspect with stolen luxury vehicle. What Thompson doesn't realize is that he just made the most catastrophic error of his entire career. The Range Rover gleams in the afternoon sunlight, its black exterior reflecting the shocked expressions of pedestrians. This isn't just any luxury car. It's a $160,000 symbol that someone like James Carter, in Officer Thompson's prejudiced worldview, has no business owning. James Carter sits behind the steering wheel with the posture of someone who's faced far greater threats than an angry police officer. At 43 years old, everything about his demeanor speaks of military discipline. But Thompson only sees what his biases allow him to see. A black man in an expensive vehicle who must be a criminal. What Thompson fails to notice are the subtle details that would tell an entirely different story. The Pentagon parking pass partially visible on the dashboard. The phone constantly buzzing with calls from contacts labeled General Patterson and Senate Liaison Office. The classified folder marked confidential sitting on the passenger seat. Documents James had been reviewing after completing a sensitive briefing just 40 minutes earlier. Officer Marcus Thompson represents everything that's wrong with making assumptions based on appearance. 9 years on the police force, 36 years old, drowning in child support payments while driving a Toyota Corolla with 210,000 miles. Every single day he patrols this wealthy Boston neighborhood, watching affluent residents drive past, his resentment growing like a pressure cooker about to explode. The coffee shop is strategically located near the Pentagon offices, a regular meeting spot for military personnel and government employees grabbing their morning caffeine between classified meetings. On any typical day, colonels, generals, and defense contractors visit this exact location. But Thompson only sees what he wants to see. Among the gathering crowd, several important witnesses position themselves without realizing they're about to document a historic moment. Elizabeth Morgan, a retired professor walking her golden retriever, stops to watch with increasing worry. Marcus, the young black barista visible through the coffee shop window, recognizes the situation immediately. He served James countless times over the past 7 months. Always respectful, always professional, always using his military ID for the veterans' discount. Most importantly, Captain Jennifer Santos sits at a corner table inside, also dressed in civilian clothing. She recognizes James instantly as a Pentagon colleague, but decides to observe rather than intervene immediately, understanding instinctively that her testimony might become critical evidence. Her phone is already recording everything. Thompson runs the license plate through his computer system, his confidence unshaken even when it returns clean, registered to J. Carter at a prestigious Boston address. In his mind, this only confirms identity theft. Just another piece of evidence in what he's convinced is an elaborate criminal scheme. The vehicle search reveals items that should make Thompson pause for a moment. military decorations in the glove compartment, including medals most officers would immediately recognize as significant. Prejudice functions like a distorted lens, transforming genuine achievements into stolen valor props purchased from the internet. Real military members don't drive cars like this, Thompson announces to the crowd, holding up a Distinguished Service Medal. They buy this garbage online to fool people. James watches his military honors, earned through blood, sweat, and sacrifice in Iraq, being ridiculed by a man who's never faced anything more threatening than a speeding violation gone sideways. His training keeps him composed, but internally the irony stings. These medals represent moments when he saved American soldiers' lives, possibly including family members of the very people now witnessing his humiliation. Officer Rebecca Martinez arrives as backup, 7 months on the force, immediately recognizing something deeply wrong with this situation. Her grandfather served in the military, teaching her to identify the bearing, language, and controlled reactions that mark a genuine service member. Unlike Thompson, she begins documenting everything methodically, her gut screaming that this stop is spiraling toward catastrophe. The crowd expands as news spreads through the neighborhood. Phone cameras multiply, creating a digital archive that will soon reach millions of viewers. Social media posts start appearing with hashtags that will trend within hours. Justice for James and honor our heroes, though nobody yet understands why those tags will prove so prophetic. Where are you from? Tell us in the comments below. And if you're loving this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more. Thompson's radio crackles with growing urgency. The dispatcher questions the need for multiple units. His supervisor requests clear justification for the extended stop, but Thompson, intoxicated by his own authority and convinced of his righteousness, escalates his assumptions. "We've got ourselves a major case developing here," he announces into his radio. Stolen luxury vehicle, fake military identification, probably connected to a larger identity theft operation. What Thompson doesn't comprehend is that every single word is being recorded, every action documented, every assumption about to be proven devastatingly and embarrassingly wrong. The man he's publicly humiliating didn't steal this car. He earned it through 21 years of distinguished military service. He purchased it with combat pay earned in war zones where he risked everything protecting the very freedoms Thompson claims to defend and uphold. The stage is perfectly set. A decorated military hero about to have his reputation destroyed by systemic prejudice, witnessed by dozens, recorded for history, with evidence accumulating that will soon reveal the truth in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. But first, this situation must deteriorate much, much further. Thompson's confidence reaches dangerous heights as additional patrol cars arrive. Their flashing red and blue lights paint the upscale neighborhood in crime scene illumination. What began as a routine traffic stop has mushroomed into a full-scale public spectacle, with 5 officers now surrounding the Range Rover, and a crowd of nearly 40 onlookers documenting every moment on their smartphones. "Step away from the stolen vehicle," Thompson shouts, his voice carrying the authority of someone who believes he's about to make the career-defining arrest of his life. "Hands behind your back. You're under arrest for grand theft auto." James complies with military precision, his movements controlled and deliberate. 21 years of training in high-stress situations activates automatically. Hands clearly visible, no sudden movements, respectful compliance with lawful commands. This only enrages Thompson further, who interprets professional composure as arrogant defiance. "Look at this suspect," Thompson announces to his fellow officers, loud enough for the entire crowd to hear. Acting all composed and superior, thinks he's somehow better than us hardworking cops who actually earn an honest living. The vehicle's search intensifies into systematic destruction. Thompson tears through the glove compartment like someone possessed, scattering paperwork across the street with theatrical fury. Insurance documents, registration papers, maintenance records, all dismissed as sophisticated forgeries before he even examines them carefully. When he discovers the Congressional Medal of Honor nestled in its presentation case, Thompson's eyes light up with the excitement of a prosecutor discovering the smoking gun. He holds it high like a trophy, turning toward the crowd and the television news camera that's just arrived on the scene. "Amazon next-day delivery, everyone," he calls out to the crowd, his voice dripping with sarcasm and contempt. Instant war hero. Just add water and suddenly, you're a decorated soldier. The genuine military decoration, earned when James saved 40 soldiers from an insurgent ambush in Fallujah, becomes a prop in Thompson's racist performance. Several veterans in the crowd shift uncomfortably, recognizing the medal's distinctive design and understanding its profound significance even if Thompson chooses willful ignorance. Elizabeth Morgan, the retired professor walking her dog, approaches Officer Martinez with mounting concern. Her decades of experience dealing with difficult situations compels her to intervene. "Excuse me, officer, but I've observed this gentleman in our neighborhood many times over the past several months. He's always been completely courteous and professional." Thompson whirls on her with the fury of someone whose narrative is being directly challenged. "Ma'am, you need to step back immediately. Criminals are experts at appearing normal and trustworthy. That's precisely how they operate successfully. They observe normal behavior patterns, then mimic them perfectly to blend into respectable communities." His dismissal of community testimony reveals the profound depth of his prejudice. No amount of character witnesses will penetrate his predetermined conclusions about who James must be based entirely on his skin color. The classified folder becomes Thompson's next target for systematic destruction. He dumps the contents carelessly across the hood. Sensitive Pentagon briefing materials scattering in the afternoon breeze like confetti. James watches helplessly as documents marked top secret and congressional eyes only flutter toward nearby storm drains, their contents potentially compromising ongoing national security operations. Fake government documents, Thompson declares with absolute certainty, picking up a briefing document marked for tomorrow's Armed Services Committee hearing on counterintelligence operations. Probably downloaded these templates from some official-looking website. These criminals think if they make something appear official enough, we'll simply believe their ridiculous lies. The irony cuts profoundly. Thompson is destroying actual classified materials while claiming they're counterfeit, potentially committing federal offenses while accusing an innocent man of identical crimes. Marcus, the young black barista who's been observing through the coffee shop window, finally exits the building, unable to remain silent any longer. His hands tremble slightly as he approaches, fully understanding the risk he's taking, but compelled by conscience to speak up. "Officer, I need to inform you, I've served this customer countless times over the past 7 months. He always presents his military ID for his veteran's discount. He's never created any disturbance. Always respectful, always tips generously." Thompson spins toward Marcus with escalating aggression, his face flushed with mounting anger. "And you're planning to vouch for a car thief? Maybe you're involved in this entire operation as well. Should I be running your background for outstanding warrants?" The threat hangs in the air like a loaded weapon pointed directly at Marcus. Marcus steps backward instinctively, recognizing the very real danger of challenging Thompson's narrative while being black in front of an increasingly hostile officer whose prejudices are completely out of control. Officer Martinez, the rookie with the military family background, pulls Thompson aside, her voice quiet but urgent. "Marcus, something feels profoundly wrong about this entire situation." His posture, his responses, the way he conducts himself. "My grandfather spent 26 years in the Army and taught me to recognize authentic military bearing. This man absolutely has it. Your grandfather was probably deceived by stolen valor frauds as well," Thompson snaps dismissively. "These criminals are extremely sophisticated now. They study real soldiers extensively, copy their behavior patterns, and memorize the vocabulary. It's all carefully calculated deception." Martinez's documentation becomes increasingly detailed and comprehensive, her instincts screaming that she's witnessing a massive professional mistake unfolding in real time. She photographs the scattered military decorations, the spilled classified documents, the growing crowd of horrified witnesses, creating a thorough record that will prove absolutely crucial in the coming federal investigation. Thompson discovers James's Pentagon access badge in his wallet, a high-security credential that requires extensive background investigations and security clearance verification. Instead of pausing to verify its authenticity through proper official channels, He waves it triumphantly toward the television news camera. Look at this evidence, everyone. Counterfeit Pentagon credentials. This represents a major federal crime in progress, people. We're discussing identity theft, stolen valor, unauthorized possession of classified materials, and systematic fraud. This suspect is facing 25 to life in federal prison. Reporter Michelle Chen, originally assigned to cover a routine Pentagon press conference, realizes she's stumbled onto something significantly bigger and potentially more important. Her camera captures Thompson's every word, his triumphant posture, as he systematically humiliates a man who hasn't resisted even once throughout this entire ordeal. The crowd's mood shifts dramatically from curiosity to horror as Thompson's behavior becomes increasingly unhinged and irrational. Many continue recording on their phones, creating a comprehensive digital record that will soon explode across social media platforms worldwide. Others attempt verbal intervention, only to be aggressively warned away by Thompson. "Ladies and gentlemen," Thompson announces like a circus ringmaster, reveling in his moment of perceived fame. "You're witnessing genuine police work in action right now. This is precisely what happens when sophisticated criminals attempt to infiltrate decent neighborhoods with their stolen property and elaborate fake identities." James's confiscated phone buzzes constantly with calls from Pentagon security offices, General Patterson's direct line, congressional staffers wondering why he missed his scheduled security briefing, and Defense Department liaisons trying to coordinate tomorrow's crucial testimony. Each ignored call represents a mounting crisis that Thompson cannot possibly begin to comprehend. Thompson glances at the caller IDs and actually laughs with genuine amusement. Look at this criminal mastermind, everyone. He's programmed fake Pentagon numbers into his phone. Probably figures if his phone rings frequently enough with official-sounding contacts, we'll automatically believe his elaborate fabricated story. Captain Jennifer Santos, who has been carefully observing from inside the coffee shop while maintaining her anonymity, decides she's witnessed sufficient evidence of serious misconduct. She approaches Officer Martinez discreetly, identifying herself as active military personnel and providing detailed testimony about everything she's witnessed. Her official account will later prove absolutely crucial in the internal affairs investigation. The handcuffs click around James's wrists with a metallic sound that seems to reverberate through the entire neighborhood. Thompson reads an increasingly elaborate list of charges: grand theft auto, stolen valor, unauthorized possession of classified materials, identity theft, obstruction of justice, and resisting arrest, despite video evidence showing complete and total compliance throughout. "We've got ourselves a genuine criminal mastermind here," Thompson tells the growing crowd of officers and bystanders. "This car is probably worth more than all our combined annual salaries, and this genius actually thought he could just drive it around Boston like he legitimately owns it." As they load James into the patrol car, Thompson can't resist delivering one final performance for the assembled cameras and crowd of witnesses. "This is what genuine American police work looks like, everyone. We don't allow criminals to hide behind fake uniforms and stolen credentials. Justice will absolutely be served today." The Range Rover sits abandoned on the street, its contents scattered like debris from an explosion. Its owner headed to the police station for the crime of driving while black in an expensive car he legitimately and legally owns. Thompson rides the adrenaline high of what he genuinely believes is the arrest that will define his entire career and possibly earn him a promotion. What Thompson doesn't know is that his radio has been broadcasting to a dispatcher who's been receiving increasingly urgent calls from Pentagon security personnel desperately searching for the whereabouts of Colonel James Carter. What he cannot possibly imagine is that within the next 60 minutes, his career-making arrest will transform into his career-ending nightmare. The crowd disperses slowly, many still recording frantically, others immediately calling friends and family to describe the shocking injustice they've just witnessed firsthand. The story is already spreading through social media like wildfire, with hashtags trending and public outrage building across multiple platforms. But the real explosion, the moment when truth collides violently with prejudice, is still yet to come. The Boston Police Department booking area buzzes with typical Tuesday afternoon activity until Thompson walks through the doors with his prize arrest. He parades James through the station like a hunter proudly displaying a trophy kill. "We've got ourselves a major federal case here," Thompson announces to everyone within earshot. Grand theft auto, stolen valor, counterfeit Pentagon credentials, the complete package. Desk Sergeant Maria Rodriguez looks up as they approach the booking desk. Something strikes her as fundamentally wrong immediately. The suspect's bearing, his controlled breathing pattern, his respectful eye contact, these aren't criminal mannerisms at all. "Name?" Rodriguez asks, beginning the intake process. "Colonel James Carter, United States Army." James responds clearly and precisely. Thompson laughs harshly and sarcastically. "See, everyone, even now, he's sticking to his completely fake identity story." Rodriguez notes the military bearing, the precise articulation, the unwavering respect in his voice. Her Marine Corps veteran husband taught her to recognize authentic military training. This man absolutely has it. During fingerprinting, James's phone buzzes relentlessly. Caller IDs scroll past continuously. General Patterson, Pentagon Security, Congressional Liaison Office, Defense Intelligence Service. Sophisticated fake contacts, Thompson points out smugly to everyone around. These identity thieves absolutely do their homework thoroughly. But Rodriguez recognizes genuine Pentagon formatting. Her concern deepens significantly as she examines military decorations that appear far too authentic for simple internet purchases. Lieutenant Davis arrives to review the arrest documentation. 21-year veteran, Davis immediately recognizes potential serious complications. "Thompson, did you run military database verification?" Davis asks pointedly. "Sir, it's obviously a completely fake identity. Real soldiers don't drive $160,000 vehicles." Thompson responds with absolute confidence. Davis's expression hardens noticeably. "That's not what I asked you." Meanwhile, Pentagon Security initiates welfare check protocols for missing Colonel Carter. The urgent call reaches Boston Dispatch at 4:02 p.m. "We're conducting a welfare check on Colonel James Carter. Has your department had any contact with this individual today?" Davis's stomach drops as he realizes the situation's true magnitude. The verification takes exactly 5 minutes. 5 minutes to discover they're holding a highly decorated Army colonel on completely impossible charges. Rodriguez runs the military database verification check. Thompson should have performed immediately. The screen fills with absolutely devastating information. Active duty colonel, Congressional Medal of Honor recipient, highest level security clearance available. "Thompson, you need to see this immediately." Rodriguez calls urgently across the booking area. Thompson approaches confidently, fully expecting complete vindication. His expression cycles rapidly through confusion, disbelief, and dawning horror as he reads the official military record. "That's completely impossible. These databases can definitely be hacked," he whispers desperately. "Marcus, this is live Pentagon verification. This man is exactly who he claims to be." Phone calls intensify dramatically. General Patterson's office contacts Boston Police Headquarters directly. Congressional staff call urgently about tomorrow's critical testimony. Chief Anderson calls Lieutenant Davis's direct line. "Michael, I've got the Pentagon, Congress, and the mayor's office calling about James Carter. Are we currently holding him in custody?" Davis closes his eyes slowly. "Yes, Chief. Thompson arrested him approximately 3 hours ago." Long silence stretches uncomfortably before Anderson responds with deadly calm. "I'm driving there immediately. Don't release him. Don't process him any further. Don't allow Thompson anywhere near him." Media coverage explodes across every platform imaginable. Michelle Chen's footage spreads like wildfire across the internet. Justice for James trends nationally within minutes. Within 3 hours, community witnesses arrive voluntarily to provide statements. Elizabeth Morgan brings her detailed written accounts. Captain Santos provides official military verification. Marcus overcomes his legitimate hesitation to support James's character publicly. Evidence accumulates like an unstoppable avalanche. Radio transmission logs, witness statements, military verification, everything systematically contradicts Thompson's narrative while confirming James's identity and credentials beyond any doubt. The final devastating blow. Pentagon releases James's official schedule showing he was leaving a classified briefing exactly 40 minutes before the traffic stop. Briefing materials for tomorrow's congressional counterterrorism testimony hearing. As sunset approaches, Boston police faces a crisis that will permanently redefine law enforcement interactions with military personnel nationwide. Thompson sits in Davis's office, still desperately insisting his arrest was completely justified. Completely unaware that his career ended the precise moment, he profiled a genuine war hero based solely on skin color. The reckoning approaches rapidly. Chief Patricia Anderson's unmarked police vehicle screeches into the station parking lot at 4:47 p.m., emergency lights flashing urgently. She storms through the front doors with purposeful fury that makes everyone stop what they're doing. "Where is he?" Anderson demands, her voice cutting through station conversation like a sharp blade. Lieutenant Davis approaches with the expression of someone walking toward their own execution. "Chief, he's in holding cell 4, but Thompson still insists." "I don't give a damn what Thompson insists," Anderson snaps sharply. "I just spent 30 minutes on the phone with General Patterson, the Senate Armed Services Committee, and the Secretary of Defense himself." The entire station falls completely silent. Every single officer stops moving, the gravity finally penetrating their awareness. Thompson emerges from Davis's office, desperately clinging to his delusions. "Chief, I can explain everything. This suspect is running an extremely sophisticated con operation. Fake military credentials, stolen luxury vehicle." Anderson whirls on him with volcanic fury barely contained. "Shut your mouth, Thompson, right this instant." She storms toward the holding cells, her heels clicking like gunshots against the tile floor. Behind bars sits Colonel James Carter, reading calmly with the dignity of someone who's endured far worse situations. "Colonel Carter," Anderson says, suddenly completely respectful. "I am Chief Patricia Anderson, and I owe you the deepest apology in law enforcement history." James looks up with neutral expression. "Chief Anderson, I assume someone finally verified my credentials properly. Sir, General Patterson is extremely concerned about your welfare and the potential impact on tomorrow's congressional testimony." The words hit Thompson like physical blows to his chest. Congressional testimony. General Patterson. Reality finally breaks through his wall of denial. "But the car," Thompson stammers desperately. "People like him just don't." Anderson turns with carefully controlled fury. "People like him, Thompson, Medal of Honor recipients, the officer who saved 40 soldiers in Iraq, the man who earned combat pay while you wrote parking tickets." The scattered classified folder sits reassembled on a nearby table. Each document Pentagon verified as authentic. The briefing details counterintelligence operations so sensitive that James's detention triggered immediate national security protocols. "The car was purchased with cash, Thompson. Combat pay bonuses accumulated from 3 deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. Every single dollar earned protecting the freedom you used to humiliate him publicly." Rodriguez approaches with complete military verification documentation. 22 pages reading like an American hero's biography. Congressional Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, Purple Heart with 3 oak leaf clusters, Bronze Star. 21 years culminating in a Pentagon Congressional Liaison assignment of critical national importance. The Pentagon parking pass you dismissed requires the highest level security clearances available. The military ID requires biometric verification and 20-month background investigations. Thompson's face cycles rapidly through emotions: confusion, disbelief, recognition, devastating realization. The man he publicly humiliated isn't just innocent. He's everything Thompson pretended to be while wearing a badge. The ignored phone calls weren't from criminals coordinating their stories. Pentagon security frantically wondering why a colonel missed his classified briefing. Congressional staff concerned about crucial national security testimony. General Patterson desperately seeking his trusted officer. Martinez enters with complete and comprehensive documentation. Photographs showing systematic destruction of legitimate government property. Classified documents scattered carelessly. Military decorations trampled underfoot. A genuine war hero forced to kneel in the street while a racist cop performed for television cameras. Captain Santos arrives in full military dress uniform. silver oak leaves catching the fluorescent light perfectly. "Ma'am, Captain Jennifer Santos, Pentagon Intelligence Division. I personally witnessed the entire incident." Colonel Carter maintained absolutely perfect military bearing throughout his detention. The impounded Range Rover documentation shows clear title under Carter's name. Current insurance coverage. Legitimate financing documents from Navy Federal Credit Union, the nation's largest military financial institution serving armed forces personnel. Thompson, do you fully understand? You arrested a sitting colonel preparing critical congressional testimony, destroyed classified materials, violated a Medal of Honor recipient's civil rights, and created an international incident that will require diplomatic explanation. The media explodes with complete truth. Michelle Chen's comprehensive story breaks nationally within hours. Police arrest war hero preparing congressional testimony. Stolen luxury car actually combat pay purchase. Social media erupts with justified fury. #Respect our heroes trends globally within hours. Veterans groups express outrage across all platforms. Active duty soldiers post emotional tributes. Congressional representatives demand immediate investigations into the incident. Thompson sits completely stunned as his entire worldview collapses around him. The man he assumed was a criminal based solely on skin color is everything Thompson wished he could be. A genuine hero earning respect through sacrifice and service rather than intimidation and prejudice. The Range Rover represents 7 months of combat pay from his Fallujah deployment, where he earned his Medal of Honor saving American lives. Every single dollar earned protecting the country you swore to serve faithfully. The irony cuts profoundly deep. Thompson, struggling financially and drowning in debt, attacked someone who legitimately earned success through the ultimate sacrifice. The luxury he bitterly resented was purchased with blood spilled defending American freedom. Anderson unlocks the cell door personally. "Colonel Carter, you're completely free to go. Your property will be returned immediately. This department will fully investigate this absolutely unconscionable rights violation." James stands with the bearing of someone who's faced Taliban insurgents and Congress with equal composure. "Chief Anderson, I genuinely appreciate your professionalism. I trust this situation leads to significantly improved officer training." Even completely vindicated, he demonstrates the class Thompson utterly lacks. No revenge demands, no retaliation threats. Just quiet confidence that justice ultimately prevails. The status reversal is complete and absolutely devastating. The man Thompson humiliated for owning a luxury car earned it protecting Thompson's freedom to serve as a police officer. The fake soldier proved infinitely more heroic than Thompson could ever imagine in his wildest dreams. The arrested criminal is actually America's most honored defender. Internal Affairs, Captain Angela Walsh arrives at Boston Police Department at 6:30 a.m. the following morning. Her briefcase contains what will become the most damaging investigation in the department's 42-year history. A 21-year veteran known for surgical precision in misconduct cases, Walsh has never encountered evidence this overwhelming or consequences this severe in her entire career. The conference room transforms into an operations center within hours. Evidence boxes line every available wall. Body camera footage, dashboard camera recordings, civilian phone videos, witness statements, Pentagon communications, and classified documents that Thompson carelessly destroyed. Each piece tells the identical devastating story of systematic racial profiling and professional incompetence. This investigation involves potential federal civil rights violations, destruction of classified materials, and interference with congressional testimony. Walsh announces to her assembled team of 4 investigators, 3 evidence technicians, and a federal liaison officer. "We're not simply examining police misconduct. We're documenting what may constitute criminal behavior with serious national security implications." The digital reconstruction begins immediately, requiring sophisticated technology to synchronize multiple video sources from different angles. Body camera footage shows Thompson's escalation from initial contact through final arrest. Every racist assumption and ignored protocol violation captured in high-definition clarity. Dashboard cameras provide wide-angle perspectives of the crowd's horrified reactions, and James's consistent compliance throughout the entire ordeal. Technical specialists create a comprehensive timeline using GPS data, radio transmissions, and cellular tower pings to establish precise chronology down to the second. The reconstruction reveals that Thompson made his racial assumptions within 45 seconds of approaching the vehicle, before any investigation or verification attempts whatsoever. Officer Martinez's documentation proves crucial beyond anyone's expectations. Her photographs and detailed written notes create a minute-by-minute timeline that contradicts every single element of Thompson's arrest report. Her military family background allowed her to recognize authentic service member bearing immediately, while Thompson saw only racial stereotypes and economic resentment. Martinez's professionalism during this incident may have prevented federal intervention entirely, Walsh notes during her preliminary briefing to department leadership. Her documentation demonstrates textbook police work, while Thompson violated nearly every departmental policy regarding traffic stops, suspect treatment, and evidence handling. The witness statements paint a devastatingly consistent picture of Thompson's aggressive behavior escalating without any legal justification whatsoever. Elizabeth Morgan, the retired professor with 32 years of educational experience, provides a detailed account of Thompson's dismissal of community testimony and his escalating hostility toward anyone challenging his predetermined narrative. Marcus, the coffee shop barista, overcomes his initial fear to describe 7 months of consistently positive interactions with James that contradict every single element of Thompson's criminal profile. His testimony includes specific dates, transaction records, and witness corroboration from coworkers who regularly served the colonel. Captain Santos's military testimony carries extraordinary weight due to her high security clearance and direct knowledge of Pentagon operations. Her statement details complex security protocols, explains James's legitimate access to classified materials, and confirms his absolutely critical role in scheduled congressional testimony on counterintelligence operations. Colonel Carter's detention didn't just violate his civil rights, Santos explains to investigators. With the gravity of someone discussing national security, it compromised ongoing intelligence operations and congressional briefings on matters of vital national importance. The Pentagon considers this a matter of extremely significant institutional concern, requiring immediate resolution and accountability. The luxury car analysis reveals the profound depth of Thompson's prejudice and willful ignorance. Financial forensic specialists examine every single aspect of James's vehicle purchase, discovering a paper trail that proves legitimate ownership beyond any conceivable doubt. Combat pay records, deployment documentation, and military financial institution records create an absolutely ironclad case. Thompson made zero effort to verify ownership through proper channels readily available to any officer, Walsh notes during evidence review sessions. His assumptions were based entirely on racial stereotypes about who can afford luxury vehicles in affluent neighborhoods. Banking records show the Range Rover purchase represented approximately 7 months of accumulated combat pay from James's deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. Every single dollar was earned through hazardous duty assignments, where he faced daily mortal threats to protect American interests overseas. The pattern analysis proves most damaging to Thompson's credibility and the department's institutional reputation. Computer forensic specialists analyzed traffic stop data, revealing systematic bias that escaped supervisory attention for months. Thompson conducted 53 traffic stops in affluent Boston neighborhoods over 7 months, with 91%, involving people of color driving expensive vehicles. Statistical comparison with other officers patrolling identical areas shows clear bias in stop selection, escalation patterns, and arrest decisions. Thompson consistently targeted minority drivers of luxury vehicles while completely ignoring similar infractions by white drivers in the exact same locations. This isn't isolated misconduct, Walsh concludes after reviewing comprehensive data analysis. This represents systematic racial profiling, specifically targeting minority success in affluent communities, enabled by inadequate supervision and failed accountability systems throughout the department. Thompson's disciplinary history emerges as equally damning evidence of institutional failure at multiple levels. 13 previous complaints of racial profiling span his 9-year career, all dismissed or resulting in minor reprimands despite consistent patterns that should have triggered immediate intervention protocols. Training records reveal missed bias awareness sessions, fail. De-escalation certifications, and negative performance evaluations that were systematically ignored by supervisory staff. Early warning systems designed specifically to identify problematic behavior patterns failed completely due to poor implementation and oversight. The warning signs were documented repeatedly, but ignored consistently, Walsh documents in her preliminary findings. Department leadership failed catastrophically to address escalating complaint patterns that should have resulted in immediate intervention and mandatory retraining. The Pentagon involvement escalates investigation urgency and complexity dramatically. Military officials demand comprehensive answers about police interference with classified operations, while congressional staff express serious concerns about law enforcement harassment of military personnel performing national security duties. Defense Department liaison officers arrive to coordinate with internal affairs, their presence highlighting the investigation's national significance and potential federal consequences that extend far beyond local jurisdiction. Pentagon Security conducts parallel reviews of all materials to assess potential classification breaches caused by Thompson's document destruction and evidence contamination. The scattered classified materials represent potential intelligence compromises requiring immediate damage assessment, the Pentagon liaison explains during classified briefings. Colonel Carter's briefing materials contain sensitive counterintelligence information that could affect ongoing operations if compromised through careless handling. Media coverage intensifies as investigative reporters uncover additional misconduct patterns throughout the entire department. National news outlets examine luxury car profiling phenomena in affluent communities nationwide, discovering remarkably similar incidents in other jurisdictions. Military advocacy groups demand federal intervention to protect service members from civilian law enforcement harassment. Legal experts provide analysis that devastates any potential defense of Thompson's actions. Police procedure specialists identify multiple policy violations and escalation failures that violate basic training principles taught at every police academy. Use of force experts document unnecessary aggression against a completely compliant subject who posed absolutely no threat. Civil rights attorneys outline federal violations that could result in criminal charges under Section 1983 and federal hate crime statutes specifically. Constitutional law experts explain how Thompson's actions violated 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendment protections in ways that could trigger federal intervention and oversight. Every element of this arrest violates established constitutional protections, a civil rights expert testifies during formal hearings. The targeting, escalation, and arrest represent textbook examples of racially motivated policing that federal courts have consistently condemned. Thompson's mandatory psychological evaluation reveals dangerous biases and stress factors that contributed directly to his catastrophic misconduct. Financial difficulties from his recent divorce, child support obligations, and deep resentment toward wealth he cannot achieve created toxic prejudices that exploded during the Carter encounter. Thompson's personal frustrations don't excuse his behavior whatsoever, the department psychologist reports, but they explain how racial bias combined with economic resentment and professional inadequacy to create this catastrophic incident that could have been prevented with proper early intervention. The community impact assessment shows damage extending far beyond individual rights violations alone. Boston residents express profound lost confidence in police professionalism and judgment. Business owners worry about department reputation affecting their establishments and customer safety perceptions. Military families question their basic security in civilian communities. This incident damaged relationships that required many years to build carefully, community liaison officers report during public hearings. Trust between police and residents, especially military families and minority communities, requires complete reconstruction through transparent accountability and comprehensive reform. Officer testimonies reveal department culture problems that enabled Thompson's behavior for years without intervention. Colleagues describe his regular racist comments during briefings, his visible resentment toward Boston's affluent residents, and his consistent pattern of targeting expensive vehicles driven by minorities. We heard Thompson make overtly racist remarks regularly during shift briefings and patrol, one veteran officer admits during confidential testimony. But nobody reported it officially because we thought it was just inappropriate talk, not actual behavior that would lead to this kind of public incident. The federal investigation threat looms over every aspect of Walsh's comprehensive work. FBI Civil Rights Division personnel monitor investigation progress closely while considering independent federal intervention. Justice Department officials review all materials for potential federal charges against both Thompson individually and department leadership collectively. Federal intervention remains a distinct possibility if local accountability proves insufficient, Walsh warns department leadership during emergency meetings. This investigation's thoroughness and resulting reforms will determine whether Boston Police maintains operational autonomy or faces federal oversight indefinitely. Evidence compilation creates an undeniable record of systematic failure at multiple levels throughout the organization. Digital evidence from dozens of sources provides comprehensive documentation. Consistent witness testimony from diverse community members supports every single allegation. Military verification of the victim's credentials and status proves Thompson's assumptions completely false. Expert analysis demonstrates clear constitutional violations requiring immediate response. Pattern documentation shows repeated misconduct that should have triggered intervention long before this catastrophic incident occurred. This case represents a complete breakdown of professional policing standards, Walsh concludes in her preliminary report. Individual prejudice combined with institutional failure and supervisory negligence created this preventable catastrophe that has damaged our department's credibility indefinitely. The Boston Police Department conference room falls absolutely silent as Internal Affairs, Captain Angela Walsh delivers her final comprehensive report. 4 weeks of intensive investigation have produced a document that will reshape law enforcement accountability standards nationwide. Chief Anderson sits at the head of the table, her face grim as she reviews findings that spell the end of multiple careers. After comprehensive investigation involving 53 witness interviews, analysis of 18 hours of video evidence, and consultation with federal agencies, Walsh begins. This department finds Officer Marcus Thompson guilty of gross misconduct, civil rights violations, and criminal behavior warranting immediate termination and federal prosecution referral. The charges read like a prosecutor's dream case come true. Racial profiling, false arrest, destruction of classified materials, violation of civil rights under color of law, failure to follow departmental procedures, and conduct unbecoming an officer. Each charge carries detailed evidence that makes any defense absolutely impossible. Effective immediately, Officer Thompson is terminated with cause, Anderson announces firmly. His pension is forfeited, benefits terminated, and this case is referred to federal prosecutors for criminal charges under Section 1983 of the Civil Rights Act. Thompson sits in stunned silence, his lawyer frantically taking notes as his client's entire life disintegrates in real time. The federal charges could result in 12 years in federal prison, complete financial ruin, and permanent unemployability in law enforcement anywhere. The department-wide reforms announced simultaneously represent the most comprehensive policy overhaul in Boston police history. Mandatory bias training becomes a monthly requirement instead of an annual suggestion that officers ignore. Body camera review protocols require supervisory examination of every single luxury vehicle stop. Early warning systems receive complete technological upgrades with automatic intervention triggers that cannot be overridden. We're implementing zero tolerance for racial profiling, Anderson declares to assembled media representatives. Any officer displaying bias will face immediate investigation and potential termination. This department will earn back community trust through concrete actions, not empty words. The Civilian Oversight Board receives unprecedented authority, including subpoena power, independent investigation capabilities, and direct reporting to City Council without department interference. Community representatives will monitor complaint patterns closely, review use of force incidents, and ensure accountability measures function effectively. Officer Martinez receives promotion to training supervisor based on her professional conduct during the Carter incident, demonstrating the leadership qualities desperately needed for departmental reform. Her new responsibility includes developing protocols, specifically addressing military personnel recognition and luxury vehicle stop procedures. Martinez's documentation and professionalism potentially saved this department from federal takeover. Anderson acknowledges publicly, her promotion reflects our absolute commitment to rewarding excellence while punishing misconduct severely. The legal consequences for Thompson extend far beyond criminal charges alone. Federal civil rights lawsuit filed by Colonel Carter seeks monetary damages and consent decree mandating comprehensive reforms. The lawsuit names both Thompson personally and the department institutionally for systematic failure to address known problems. This case will bankrupt Thompson personally while costing taxpayers millions in settlements, the city attorney warns during closed session. His actions have created liability extending far beyond his individual misconduct. Congressional response proves swift and severe beyond expectations. The Senate Armed Services Committee schedules hearings specifically addressing police interference with military operations and national security personnel performing official duties. Proposed legislation would create federal protections for military personnel facing civilian law enforcement harassment. Senator Williams, chair of the Armed Services Committee, announces publicly, when local police can interfere with congressional testimony on national security matters, we have a systemic problem requiring immediate federal intervention. The Pentagon establishes immediate response protocols for detained military personnel, creating direct communication channels between military command and local law enforcement agencies. Future incidents involving military personnel will trigger automatic Pentagon notification and intervention procedures to prevent similar situations. Military advocacy groups celebrate the accountability while demanding broader protections for all service members. Veterans of foreign wars, American Legion, and Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America jointly call for federal legislation protecting military personnel from discriminatory policing nationwide. Colonel Carter's treatment represents an attack on everyone who served our country, VFW National Commander states publicly. This accountability sends a message that military service deserves respect, not suspicion based on skin color. The media coverage reaches international levels as the story becomes a powerful symbol of American racial justice struggles. International outlets examine how a decorated war hero could face such treatment in the country he risked his life to serve. The story trends globally across social media platforms for weeks. Thompson's personal consequences prove devastating beyond mere professional destruction. His ex-wife gains full custody of their children, citing his racist behavior as incompatible with proper child rearing. Community ostracism forces him to relocate as local businesses refuse service and neighbors demand his immediate departure. Thompson has become unemployable in law enforcement nationwide, his attorney explains to potential employers. His actions have made him a liability no police department would accept under any circumstances. The federal criminal case proceeds rapidly with overwhelming evidence that makes conviction virtually certain. Video documentation, witness testimony, and expert analysis create a prosecution case requiring minimal preparation. Thompson faces federal hate crime charges civil rights violations, and obstruction of justice counts. Federal prosecutors announce, "This case demonstrates our commitment to prosecuting law enforcement officers who violate constitutional rights under color of authority. Justice will be served regardless of badge or uniform." Community healing begins through transparent accountability processes and regular police community forums designed to rebuild trust. Monthly meetings between police leadership and residents address ongoing concerns while monitoring reform implementation progress. Trust rebuilding requires sustained effort over many years, community leaders emphasize. Boston's luxury car profiling policies become a national model for other departments facing similar issues nationwide. Training protocols developed in response to the Carter incident spread to police departments across the country through federal grant programs and professional associations. Boston's reforms prove that accountability can drive positive change, police reform advocates note. This incident's consequences demonstrate that justice remains possible, even in cases of egregious misconduct. The monetary settlement with Colonel Carter includes undisclosed damages plus consent decree mandating specific reforms with federal monitoring for 5 years. Settlement terms require annual reporting on bias complaint patterns, use of force statistics, and community relations metrics. Colonel Carter returns to Pentagon duties while becoming a national symbol of dignity under extreme pressure. His congressional testimony on counterintelligence operations proceeds successfully despite the detention's disruption. Military and civilian leaders praise his professional response to personal injustice. Colonel Carter's grace under extreme pressure demonstrates the character that earned him military honors, General Patterson states publicly. His response to injustice reflects the values our military defends every single day. The systemic changes extend beyond Boston as other departments examine their own policies for similar problems. Federal guidance documents cite the Carter incident as an example requiring preventive measures. Law enforcement training academies incorporate the case study into bias awareness curricula nationwide. 7 months later, statistical analysis shows dramatic improvement in Boston police community relations. Racial profiling complaints dropped by 72%. Community trust surveys show gradual improvement. Military personnel report increased confidence in civilian law enforcement. Data proves that accountability drives improvement, research analysts conclude. Boston's transformation demonstrates that comprehensive reform can restore community trust after catastrophic failures. The final irony emerges as Thompson faces federal trial. The man he assumed was a criminal based on racial stereotypes proved to be everything Thompson claimed to represent. A genuine American hero who earned respect through service and sacrifice rather than intimidation and prejudice. The luxury car he bitterly resented was purchased with blood money earned protecting Thompson's freedom to serve as a police officer. Justice arrives not through revenge, but through systematic reform ensuring such incidents cannot recur. The price of prejudice proves higher than anyone imagined initially, while the value of dignity under pressure creates lasting change benefiting entire communities. 7 months after that fateful Tuesday afternoon in Boston, the transformation seems almost miraculous. The coffee shop where Colonel James Carter was publicly humiliated now displays a small commemorative plaque honoring military veterans, donated by community members who witnessed his dignity under fire. The parking spot where his Range Rover was surrounded by police cars has become an unofficial symbol of justice prevailing over prejudice. Colonel Carter continues his distinguished service at the Pentagon, his testimony to Congress having proved crucial in advancing counterintelligence legislation. Despite the trauma of his public humiliation, he maintains the same quiet professionalism that defined his military career, now enhanced by his role as an unwitting symbol of grace under extreme pressure. "I harbor no personal animosity whatsoever," Carter states during a community forum 7 months later. "My sincere hope is that this incident creates lasting meaningful change, preventing others from experiencing similar injustice." His Range Rover, fully repaired from Thompson's search damage, still turns heads in Boston neighborhoods. But now those looks carry respect rather than suspicion, understanding rather than resentment. The luxury vehicle that triggered such hatred has become a powerful symbol of earned success and legitimate achievement. Officer Rebecca Martinez's transformation exemplifies the positive change possible when accountability meets opportunity. As training supervisor, she's developed bias awareness programs adopted by 17 police departments nationwide. Her military family background, once merely personal history, now serves community healing through professional expertise and lived experience. This incident taught me that silence enables injustice, Martinez reflects thoughtfully. Documentation and courage can prevent catastrophic failures when good officers speak up against misconduct. Her training protocols specifically address luxury vehicle stops, military personnel recognition, and de-escalation techniques for affluent community policing. Statistical analysis shows dramatic improvement. Racial profiling complaints decreased 72%, while community satisfaction increased 48%. The Boston Police Department's comprehensive reforms have become a national model for accountability-driven change. Monthly bias audits, real-time body camera review, and community oversight boards demonstrate that systematic reform can restore trust after catastrophic failure. Chief Anderson, initially defensive about departmental reputation, now champions transparency as the foundation of legitimate policing. Accountability isn't punishment, it's professional growth. We're better officers and better people because we faced our failures honestly and openly. The Civilian Oversight Board, empowered with subpoena authority and independent investigation capabilities, has become the community's voice in police accountability. Monthly public meetings ensure transparency, while quarterly reports track progress on bias elimination and community relations. Former Officer Marcus Thompson serves as an unintentional cautionary tale about the price of prejudice. His federal conviction on civil rights charges resulted in 9 years in federal prison, complete financial ruin, and permanent law enforcement disqualification. His personal destruction serves as a stark warning to officers considering similar misconduct. His children, now raised solely by their mother, will grow up understanding that racism destroys families and communities. The luxury car resentment that drove Thompson's prejudice cost him absolutely everything he claimed to protect: home, family, career, and reputation. The broader community healing extends beyond Boston's borders. Military families nationwide report increased confidence in civilian law enforcement following the accountability demonstrated in Carter's case. Veterans organizations cite the incident as proof that service members' rights will be protected through proper channels when violated. Congressional legislation establishing federal protections for military personnel during civilian police encounters passed unanimously, demonstrating bipartisan commitment to honoring military service. The Colonel Carter Protection Act requires immediate military notification when service members are detained and establishes protocols preventing interference with national security duties. Pentagon police cooperation protocols developed after the incident have prevented similar situations in military communities nationwide. Direct communication channels between military commands and local law enforcement ensure rapid resolution of any future misunderstandings. The luxury car profiling awareness campaigns launched in affluent communities have sparked national conversations about economic bias intersecting with racial prejudice. Educational programs help community members recognize and report discriminatory policing while supporting legitimate law enforcement efforts. Social media campaigns using Respect Our Heroes and Justice for Colonel have evolved into ongoing advocacy for military veterans facing civilian discrimination. The hashtags now promote positive stories of military-civilian cooperation and community healing. Local businesses in Boston embrace the transformation through veteran-friendly policies, military discount programs, and community forums promoting understanding between civilian and military populations. The coffee shop where Carter was arrested now hosts monthly military appreciation events. Elizabeth Morgan, the retired professor who courageously spoke up during the incident, has become a community advocate for police accountability. Her witness testimony proved crucial in establishing the pattern of misconduct that secured Thompson's conviction. Speaking up was frightening, but silence would have been complicity, Morgan reflects. Citizens have a responsibility to support justice even when it's uncomfortable. Marcus, the young barista whose testimony supported Carter's character, completed his criminal justice degree and joined Boston Police Department, bringing community perspective to law enforcement. His hearing represents the department's commitment to diversity and community connection. The national impact extends through law enforcement training programs, incorporating the Carter incident as a case study in bias recognition and prevention. Police academies nationwide examine the investigation's findings to prepare future officers for professional, unbiased policing. Research institutions study Boston's transformation as a model for accountability-driven reform. Academic papers examine how comprehensive investigation, transparent punishment, and systematic change can restore community trust after catastrophic failures. The statistical evidence proves lasting change is possible. Data shows sustained improvement in police-community relations, reduced bias complaints, and increased public confidence in law enforcement accountability. Numbers tell the story that rhetoric alone cannot convey. International attention continues as the Carter case becomes a symbol of American justice system's capacity for self-correction. Foreign media outlets cite the accountability and reform as evidence that democratic institutions can address systemic problems when properly motivated. But perhaps the most powerful testament to change lies in everyday interactions between police and community members. Officers approach luxury vehicles with professional respect rather than suspicious assumptions. Military personnel feel confident that their service will be recognized rather than questioned. The transformation isn't complete. Systemic change requires sustained effort over years, not months. But the foundation has been laid for lasting reform based on accountability, transparency, and community engagement. Colonel Carter's dignified response to injustice created ripple effects, extending far beyond Boston. His refusal to seek revenge while demanding justice demonstrated that positive change emerges from principled leadership rather than angry retaliation. Real change happens when ordinary people choose courage over comfort, Carter observes. Community healing requires everyone's participation, not just those directly affected by injustice. The Range Rover that triggered such hatred now represents something entirely different, proof that American dreams remain achievable through service and sacrifice. The luxury car earned through combat pay symbolizes values that transcend racial prejudice and economic resentment. This story demonstrates that justice delayed isn't always justice denied. Comprehensive investigation, transparent accountability, and systematic reform can create lasting change that honors both victims of injustice and community needs for legitimate law enforcement. Have you ever witnessed injustice and wondered whether speaking up would make a difference? Colonel Carter's story proves that individual courage, community support, and institutional accountability can transform tragedy into triumph, creating positive change that protects everyone's rights and dignity. Where are you from? Tell us in the comments below. And if you're loving this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more.